Welcome to More Than Renovating, a Renovate and real estate podcast. Our founder, Belinda Smith, talks to industry experts to provide you with the knowledge and information you need to make renovating for love and profit your reality. Belinda will also chat to some of her Renovation Mastery members who are just everyday people doing extraordinary things, following their passions in the renovation and property space. So, let's jump straight into the episode. Enjoy.
Hi everyone, welcome to Renovate and Real Estate's podcast, which is all about more than renovating. And today's special guest, I have Joe Tucker, and Joe Tucker is a buyer's agent and he's from a company called Property Principles. How are you, Joe?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me. This is exciting.
Oh, you're welcome. I work with renovators, as you know, and a lot of mums and dads, property investors. Not everybody understands exactly the role of a buyer's agent and what a buyer's agent can do for them if they were to enlist their services. So perhaps that's a really good place to start.
Yeah. Well, why you would use a buyer's agent and what are they really?
Yeah.
I guess to kind of understand what a buyer's agent is and what the role is, they're sometimes called buyer's advocates or buyer's agents. And essentially it's someone that guides investors through the property buying purchase, right? We're a guide to help you along the journey. And we have a team of experts around us that like conveyancers, solicitors, and pest and building inspectors. And we just try and take all the load of purchasing a property and make sure that we're not just, you're buying a stud rather than a dud. So it's kind of like a real estate agent. Like the vendor has a trained negotiator. They're on their side and looking after them. But the buyer then, as a normal everyday Joe, doesn't have a trained negotiator on their side to be able to help them buy a property. So that's what the role of a buyer's agent is, to go up against that and help people find investment grade properties for one, and also negotiate the best price for those properties.
Buyer's agents in the US have been a part of the whole real estate industry for a long, long time, but they're reasonably new here in Australia.
Yeah, it's only like 4% of transactions go through a buyer's agent at the moment in Australia. In the US, it's like 98%. And it's just common practice. Who's your buyer's agent? Who's your real estate agent? And how are they connecting together? But in Australia, we don't necessarily have that. I think it's because everyone in Australia thinks they're really good at buying property, and it's built into us. We have to own property. And, we're on this podcast and it's a property related podcast. But some people don't know exactly what they're doing. They just kind of fall into it and kind of might buy a dud, and it might just take them a couple of steps back.
So is that the main benefit of hiring a buyer's agent? Or do they have access to more properties than we do as ordinary buyers on the ground looking at ads on realestate.com?
Yeah, absolutely. Like one of the biggest things is this is what people do full time. Like if you put a part-time effort, you get part-time results. But if you're full-time looking at property, speaking with all the real estate agents in that market, and they know when they want a deal done that they can just call you up and say, hey, I've got this great property coming up. Are you interested? We do start to see a lot of off-market opportunities before they hit the market. They say, look, I don't need to go through the campaign. I don't want to put the vendor through the stress of it, because we are just dealing with people at the end of the day. And if they don't want the marketing campaign and all the hassle and people traipsing through their house on the opens, they'll try and sell it off market. Or there's a property that just signed a new lease, but for whatever reason, the investor wants to get rid of it. They're not going to take that to the market because the owner occupier is not going to be interested to buy a property with 9 months left of a lease. So they take it off market. And the first people they call are the people who they know, like, and trust as an agent, which is us buyer's agents who are chatting to them every day.
And at the same time, you have a list of people who are keen to buy investment properties. Like you have your whole list of people who are contacting you saying, find me a deal.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. I only work with a select few clients. Like I'm not one of these large scale buyers agents that is where people are just a number. I work with 5 to 8 clients at any one time, and I find them a specific property that fits their specific requirements and their needs. But when you're talking to the agents, of course, you're the busiest. You've got 1,000 clients for them, and they love you for that because you can do a lot of volume through them if they give you the best deals. But if they don't give us the best deals, then we're not going to be able to do that type of volume through you, Mr. Agent. So I apologize.
So who's your typical client? What kind of properties are you usually hunting down for your typical client?
I like to think about it as everyday properties for everyday people. So my clients are not the lifestyle of the rich and famous that I purchase for everyday Aussies. So from $400,000 to $800,000 is our kind of purchase buying range, and that's where we see the most amount of value for property investors. That's where they're going to get the most bang for their buck. And some people are looking for, like we call it, a set and forget, which is just buy a house. It's already renovated. It looks beautiful. We then have an ugly duckling, which is, I imagine, what your clients are into. And that's my expertise. I love the ugly ducklings and, turning them to swans and getting paid for the effort. And then we have a slice and dice where there's a development opportunity and where you can subdivide and split it and do all of that crazy stuff as well if you're further down the line on your investing journey. But I wouldn't recommend doing that when you just start out. Get a couple of wins under your belt and then start venturing into that kind of sphere.
I just love simple cosmetic renovations are a really nice place for my guys to start. So without being too complicated. What happens if you do a lot of research for someone to try and find a property and then they change their mind or they're not interested? Like, how does it all work when someone comes to you and they want you to find something for them?
Well, most people are buying property right now, right? Like they've attempted to buy property. And as we know, we are in the hottest market we've seen since 1974. Or whatever the 1980s. So people are kind of missing out, and they've been missing out for a number of months now, and they've already seen the property prices skyrocketing since that time. So most people are keen to buy a property. So I've never had a client pull out on me. So I don't know what that means. But we do have an upfront retainer, which secures the client. We can then go ahead and buy them a property and know that they're not going to do this, call up 10 other buyers agents and try and do that kind of thing. So there's an upfront retainer, and then we get paid on unconditional exchange for the rest of the amount after the property is 100% theirs and they're good to go.
So what are the real benefits for somebody if they've never ever bought a property before and don't know how to do the research to identify good property?
Well, I think you just said it there. They don't know what they don't know. So if you don't know what you don't know, you're going to get given whatever someone gives you. If you're doing it part-time, you get a part-time result, as I said before. But I think the biggest benefit is you've got someone that is, like, a lot of what my business is data-led. So I research I have my own platform that I've built, my own tech platform that crunches all the data and the numbers, and we just break it down into smaller and smaller chunks. So we look at all 15,600 suburbs in Australia. Then we throw layers over the top of it, looking at all of the key drivers of capital growth, what our clients actually looking for. So, like, are they looking for a renovation? Are they looking for a development? And crunch the numbers to actually find good deals.
What if somebody has no idea of what area to buy in? Does it come down to the numbers again?
With me, we don't really take recommendations of where someone would buy. So if someone said, can you buy me a place in, I don't know, name X suburb, Northern Territory. I'm not buying in the Northern Territory right now. But if someone said, hey, can you buy me a property in Northern Territory? No, sorry, I can't. I don't buy in that area. So we have investment grade locations throughout all of Australia. So we've got different pockets in different places, and we've got networks of agents and people on the ground to help us through those properties. We've got property managers, all that stuff. And then we'd be able to find those properties. So if someone wants to recommend a place, we have the data to back up why we're buying here. We don't have it where it's choose your own adventure. But once you're a customer of ours, we'll show you why this is an investment grade suburb and why it makes sense to be buying here. And hopefully that is the reason why you would go with someone like us because we've done the research already.
Yeah, I agree. It should always be research based. So many people make choices or think they know where to buy based on some kind of emotional attachment to an area or something they've heard from somebody else. And if they're buying for investment, yeah, I agree with you. It should always be research based and research backed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so easy though. It's so easy to have a chat with somebody, or, I mean, you in this group and in my group as well, the property investment group that I have with my friend Jeff Miles, we have Oz Property Investors.
Yeah.
There's people that jump in these groups and say, oh my gosh, you have to buy in X suburb. And everyone jumps on, oh my gosh, I'm going to go buy there, just based off somebody said something online. It's not the best way to go about it.
I agree. And so many people look for tips from things like online forums like that. And they also look for tips from developers who are naturally going to suggest areas of which they have a whole bunch of development properties to sell. And it's definitely hard. So a buyer's agent, hiring a buyer's agent is, I take it that they're most likely to get you a good deal that's going to hold true for the long term, that's based on all of the data, not just an emotional reason.
Yeah. Yeah. So we do a number of levels of research. So we look at like the suburb growth perspective. What are the next 1 to 5 years going to look like? And that's going to be based off so many factors, like the proportion of renters to owner occupiers, the vacancy rates, the days on market, the average vendor discounting, the stock on market, like what has been the growth rate over the last 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. All of these things then factor in, and then you've got to overlay those over the top of the actual fundamentals for the suburb. So is there infrastructure going in? What's the household income of the area? Do they have enough capital to be able to sustain more capital growth? What's been put there? Do they have new train stations? Are there new fun entertainment areas going in? All of these things have to be factored in and layered over the top of each other to help you make the decision.
And then it's the property itself. For us, it's whether that property has renovation potential.
Yeah, and then it's and then it's if it has that. It's hard to find the unicorn out there, but 100%. The great thing that actually I really like about renovation as well is that you can it's only over a short period of time, right? A renovation shouldn't take you more than 3 months to be able to do, unless it's a full thing. So the market movement doesn't really matter too much. You can get away with buying if you're going to sell it. You can buy a property in an area that's not necessarily the biggest growth if there's enough fat in the deal for you, which is what I like about it. Like you can make a mistake and be okay. It's not going to ruin you. Unlike other ones where you buy a fully renovated property that's above market value and then you've got to wait 3 years, 5 years before that growth actually hits where the value is. And then your renovation after that period of time's now run down.
Yeah. I agree. I love renovating. And I think people think they have in their mind that there's risk attached because there's a lot of moving parts, but it's not risk at all. I actually think it's one of the best things to do and the easiest things to do and one of the safest moves to make in the property world. So Joe, what are your renovation tips when you get these old properties?
Well, one of the things you just mentioned there, risk. I tell you what was risky when I was a kid, crossing the road.
Yeah.
That was very risky. I used to just, dart out because there was a shiny ball, but we look left, we look right. We assess the risk and then we go and step forward. We let's not leave risk or fear of something happening from stopping us. Uncover the risk by using, being smart and knowledgeable. Like one of the mistakes that I made on my renovation that I did was I saw asbestos in the house. I bought the property, but found the asbestos after I bought it. Obviously, I don't do that anymore. I'm aware of the asbestos, but I just saw it and I'm like, great, I can't knock down this shed and create a nice pergola like I was going to because there's asbestos. Done. But the problem was that would have added an extra 20 grand of value. Turns out it would have only cost me $2,000 or $1,500 to remove all the asbestos. Yeah, so I thought, crossing the road, I didn't look left, I didn't look right, I just froze and decided not to do it. But sorry, yeah, that was just a little side thing.
Yeah, no. I totally agree. Sometimes we think things are bigger than they are. Sometimes we go the opposite and think we have to rip it all out. But it's just assessing each individual project upon its merits, and it's money out, money back in. So if doing that was going to earn you a lot more in return and get rid of that problem, coulda, shoulda, woulda done it at the time. But we all live and learn. That's fine.
Yeah.
And then there's the opposite, where a builder tells you to rip all of the asbestos out of a place when it's in good condition and it's been painted and well maintained, and it's not necessary to put it all out. So it's just been making wise choices. It's the same as you when you're buying property on behalf of people. But speaking of that, do you actually do all of the negotiating on behalf of people?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we do all the negotiation. We kind of try and reverse the fear of loss with the agents as well. So like today, for instance, there was a property that listed on the market today, and my clients are working on another property, and I'm like, hey, Mr. Agent, I want to buy this property today. So the biggest thing is, actually, here's a hot tip, like you're talking about tips. In a hot market, speed kills. You need to be incredibly fast. You need to know your market. What is a good deal? Crunch the numbers incredibly quickly. So you need to have like a 2-minute jump on the back of a napkin. Is this going to make sense? That's how familiar you need to be of the area. And then that's how you're going to be able to then move fast. And what happens is when you move fast, everybody else gets uncomfortable. So the first home buyer that walked into the property and saw it and was like, oh, I don't like this. I've got to see if I'll get my money from mum. Oh, I haven't got my finance pre-approval. I say to the agent, hey, Mr. Agent, all my people are pre-approved. We're ready to go on finance. I'm going to buy this thing today. My inspector's on the way on the way to your place right now. Let's move on this. How do we do it? They want a deal done. I want a deal done. And we can get this today. It'll before 5 p.m. We'll be able to stitch this deal up, and it won't even have hit the open market.
Totally love that. Totally love it. And you are so right. And long gone are the times where we could put lowball offers in on 8 to 10 to 12 properties and just sit around and see what turned up and see what negotiations started to unfold from that. This is a market to move fast in. Otherwise, they're gone. And I hear some of my students and some other people in some of the Facebook groups I run, and they complain about properties disappearing before they get to them. It's not the properties, it's because they're moving too slow, and people like you with your experience are snapping them up from underneath them.
Yeah, and it's a shame because a lot of the reason why is because people don't understand the true market value for the property that they're purchasing. So if you look at the markets that I'm buying in right now, it'll say the properties, this type of asset, 4, 2, and 2, was 700,000, let's just say. I know that these properties will sell on the market for 750,000. Last week, that property sold for 750. This one sold for 752. This one sold for 755. But with real estate and domain, and even RP data, the data doesn't come through until the property settles. So you're looking back 3-4 months ago in data. So that then means you're going in there with 710, 700, but it really is at 750. So you just need to know the market. My hot tip for knowing the market is a little bit manual, and this is why you hire professionals to do this stuff for you to know, but it works. Call up. Whenever you see the under offer tab, everyone always clicks, oh, under offer, get rid of it. I don't want to see it. Go to the under offer tab, see what just got under offer, and call up the agent and say, hey, Mr. Agent, look, I'm buying in the area. Can you just help me out? What did it go for? I'm not going to buy this property. Because they're like, oh, no, I'm not allowed to tell you. I won't tell you. I can't tell you. And just say, please, look, don't beg, but they will then say, oh, look, mate, it went for 750,000. Oh, wow. Okay. And then you call up the next agent. Yeah, 752. Wow. Great job. Let me know when you've got more like them coming up. Oh, yeah, I will.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And then you're all of a sudden, everyone's looking at 700. You know that it's 750, so you can go in there with a 750 or 751 and match the market and meet the market where it is.
Yeah, when you need to do stuff. Yeah.
Not just about paying over. It's like you just need to know exactly where it's going to go and give the vendor what they want, sort out terms and those type of things.
So the difference, I think, between you going to an agent and you getting in front of an agent and talking like that, and is that you'll be taken seriously by a real estate agent being a buyer's agent. Whereas a lot of people, they make half-hearted attempts to get in front of real estate agents and to try and get properties off market, and they're just not taken seriously.
Yeah, it definitely helps just having investors behind you that you need to service and find amazing properties for, and then the agent's there ready to go. But I'm just trying to think of tips. If I wasn't like, when I wasn't a buyer's agent, I would just call the agents and say, hey, what's coming up? Oh, just letting you know, I'm fully pre-approved. I've never fallen through on finance. I've got my pre-approval ready to rock. I've got a deposit. I've got a large deposit. So when you find a property, call me. And if,
and the thing I say is I don't mind making a fast decision. I know my prices, and I'm very fast decision. So that's when their little ears prick up, because most people aren't good decision makers and they'll ponder and wonder. So it's like, you give me a good deal. I know my prices. I'm ready to go, and I will make a decision on behalf of the family, which I've done before. Lol. happy husband, happy kids. It's like, oh, we're moving.
Are you in that decision right now? Is this the decision we're looking at?
Yeah, definitely. All right. So, what's the most important lesson you've learned so far being a buyer's agent?
Don't know. The most important lesson. Gosh.
In property or in business?
Property or in business. I think just keep at it. Just keep researching. Know your area, right? Don't if your purchase price is 500 to 600,000, find properties, research markets that are within that market. Are you going to drive to the renovation, or are you going to fly to the renovation? Okay, is it near? How far away is it from the airport for you to actually get there and do the thing? Okay, so that breaks down the suburbs within my locale, or the, where I can go. But really, the top tip is, know what markets that you're going to, and keep researching. And actually, getting boots on the ground is a big part of what I do in my business. Every area that I go to, I research, and then I back up the data, because you can sit behind a keyboard and do all the research you want, but actually going there and seeing, oh, there's a new brothel there. That's a bit unattractive. There's a massive highway planned for this. All the small businesses are complaining about the rent, like, getting shut down, and all of that kind of stuff. And you can start to then piece together the puzzles, because there's data and then there's what's on the ground as well. So get on the ground, go to the area, chat to the cafe, chat to the people, get familiar with it, and talk to agents and say, hey, Mr. Agent, can you drive me around? And they will, some of them will say no, but some of them will say yes. And you'll learn a lot more about the area.
I agree. I was looking on behalf of my son, or with my son, in Erskineville the other day, and we started to talk to the neighbours and the people at the local cafe, and found out that there was an industry there. We actually couldn't even see it. It was well disguised, just looked like the rest of the houses, but a lot of traffic to and from that industry every day, parking issues, neighbour complaints for years, and something like that we never would have identified if we were just on the internet. So when you're on the ground and you start to talk to people, they tell you a lot, and sometimes real estate agents tell you way more than they should. Well,
actually, a good tip. My favorite tip is talk to the property managers instead of the real estate agents for this type of information, because they have all the little trick. They know they don't want to give you a property. They don't want you to buy a property in a poor area, because they have to manage it in that poor area. So they would rather say, no, avoid this pocket. So I always say, where's the hot spots? Where are the not spots? And they'll point you to the good areas and the bad areas with a little bit more faith than the agent.
So as a renovator and someone who runs an education program, I sometimes hear from people, I would rather save the money I'm going to pay you to get the education and put it towards my renovation. What do you do with people when they say, I would rather save the money that I'm about to pay you and go and find a property myself?
Well, I guess then go on and do it.
Off you go then. Good luck.
Off you go then. No, like the biggest thing is that the time and the research that's behind all of our decisions. So, you know, you very quickly pay this off. Like if you don't know what the area is, for instance, I'm buying in a property, I'm buying in an area right now that the 3-bed property is worth 600,000.
Yeah.
The 4-bed property is worth 700,000. So there's a massive disparity between the two prices. So what am I doing? I'm buying 3-bedroom properties that have the ability to add a 4th wall. So all of a sudden, I've just made you $100,000 with a $1,500 wall. So that's where the value is, in the little tips and tricks. And then what will happen, because this is the thing with renovating, right? I did a renovation in 2020. We bought it for $280,000. We spent $22,000 on the renovation. I put up a wall. So I took it from a 2-bedroom to a 3-bedroom. It was then revalued at $360,000. So boom. What a legend. Reno, that's how you do a reno, right? It gives you that.
What a legend.
What a legend.
Hope your colours are nice.
Yeah, you know, one of the walls was so damaged. We had to put wallpaper instead. They're like, we can't paint this. So to have wallpaper on it instead. But you make do, you know, you make do when you're renovating, as long as it's livable and sustainable. Don't have a goon budget and champagne taste. But where was my point there? Oh, the point was, I bought the property for 280, took it to 360. I've held it now. It's in a high growth area. It's now worth 500,000. So actually just buying and holding it from that period has been better than the renovation. So yes, renovate, because I love renovating, but make sure the property that you buy has some high growth potential, because that's what's going to, like, I've had a renovation 280 to 360. And then the next year I got another renovation for free. And then the next year I got another renovation value for free in the growth. So just make sure that you're choosing a high growth location, which is what I do day in and day out, I guess.
Day in and day out. And if someone can't identify a high growth location, then using someone like you virtually, your fee just pays for itself in amongst the profit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your profit.
Yeah, but one thing, this is for people that don't know about buyer's agents, and there's probably people that more of like the older school people know property spruikers. There's a lot of property spruikers out there. So you really, really have to be careful on who you trust and who you get your advice and information from.
Agree.
I've got a couple of like key questions that might be useful to identify a spruiker. And that, do you want to hear some of those?
Oh, I'd love to.
I've hooked you in. I've baited you in.
I'm in. Tell me.
Okay. So the way a buyer's agent works is you're paying them a fee and you're getting a service. They are 100% there for you, and they're the expert and you're paying for them, but you paid them. So you need to make sure that you're getting your worth out of it. So always push back on your buyer's agent. Always ask why. But some of the key ones are understanding that the financial incentives of the buyer's agent are aligned with you. So some of the questions to ask: how are you getting paid? So with me, how are you getting paid? I'm getting paid by nobody else. Nobody else gives me a fee, a commission, a blah, blah, blah. Nobody. You pay me a fixed price fee and I will go and find you a property. Perfect. So that's the first question to ask. The next is, how are you getting paid? The next is, what kickbacks do you get from other professionals? Some people get kickback from conveyancers and property managers and all that stuff. I don't do that. I just rather say I get no referral fees from anybody. It's not necessarily a bad thing. But it's something to think about. Where are the incentives aligned? And then another one is, how long have you been investing? You know, what's your investing strategy? Does that align with your strategy as well? So if I came on here and I was like, oh, all I do is buy blue chip in Sydney, probably not really going to be relevant for a renovator, because I'm not going to be able to. That's not going to help a renovator. I don't know. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. The other thing is, Joe, if people come to you and they're not quite sure of what type of property they should be buying next, what their next right move is, do you help them in some way? Work that out? Actually, that's a really good point. So we have a full
hours consultation with a property investment. What are they called again? Property investment advisor. So we have a strategy session with absolutely everybody. We have a tech-enabled platform which maps out, essentially, it maps out who you are. So we need to paint the picture of who you are, so where you are. And then we want to paint the picture of where you're going. And then the platform builds the roadmap to be able to get there. But the problem is when you create a static plan as right now, right? If I created a static plan 5 years ago, it would be completely different to where I am now. So every time a customer is with me, they come back, we then redo the entire plan and make sure that it is in line with their goals. So we know who you are, where you're going, and then we can roadmap it out to get there. But don't look to, I like to think of the next property purchase that you're buying is crystal clear. You know exactly what it is. It's a property purchase that's going to be a set and forget, 500, well, maybe more of an ugly duckling that's within 500 to 550,000 within, Adelaide, that's going to need a renovation where I can put $40,000 into it and get $3 back for every dollar that I invest.
Perfect.
And then everything after that is very blurry and hazy. Just know, we know where we're going, we know how we're going to get there, but we don't know what that exact purchase next is going to be until we finish this purchase and go for the next.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's something that I get asked all the time, and people want me to make their decisions for them. Exactly. What should I do? Where should I go, Belinda? What area do you want me to buy in? How much should I spend? And you're so right. A set and forget, there's nothing wrong with a set and forget. Or is you want something with renovation potential? Do you want something with subdivision potential? How is it going to fit into your portfolio? Is it the right property for you? And are you capable of handling that kind of property? And how long do you want to take to retire? And what do you want to retire on? So many questions.
Yeah, and that's why you need to build an individual plan for individual people. Because the property I just bought right now, buying at 5 p.m., that is not going to be, this is the perfect property for that person. But the next the customer number 3 that I've got, no, that's not going to fit him at all. It's not suitable. It needs to be tailored. So if anyone says like, oh, I know you're probably sick of this, they're off the plan stuff and house and land packages. When someone just says, boom, this is what I buy for you, and there's been no open-ended questions. Big question to ask is, what kickbacks do you get for offering me this? What type of properties do you own as an individual? Oh, I own a lot of these house and land packages. Well, that might not be, the strategy. Yeah.
What about mixing up the strategy? Do you support that? So
I like to think about properties as a whole. I was speaking to, actually just this morning, I was talking to a client about it. I like to pair properties. So I want high growth and I want high cash flow. And you can get that in a property. You can get a high growth property with a high yield as well. But sometimes you want to own a property in a city, a capital city with a lot of growth, but then that's got a little bit of negative cash flow. Why not get a higher cash flow property? And then your overall portfolio, rather than looking at individual properties, oh, this one's negatively geared, this one's positively geared. No, your portfolio is actually net neutral. So you're in a good position because these two are supporting each other. Boom. Now go and find you put them together, boom, move them across. Now find another 2 properties that can support each other and build it like that.
And support you to keep moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. Because you don't want to be too negatively geared, because that's going to really affect your borrowing capacity.
I'm going to take you back just a little bit. Why did you start this business, Joe? Why did you determine that you'd like to be a buyer's agent?
Well, I've been in sales my entire life. I've been doing it for a while now. I think it was 2015, I got my real estate license, and that's when I started to really hone in on investing. I got my real estate license, but then I realized that real estate agents don't actually know about property investing. They know how to sell a house. They're not property. They're not property investors. I
agree. And so many people ask them questions.
Yeah. What's the yield on this? And then they say, what's a yield?
Yield?
It's a farm. You'll be able to get some corn on the back and you'll be able to yield that. No. I guess the catalyst for me, actually, I'm a big advocate of, if something's not done right, and I say to myself, I can do that better, I then really, really want to do that better. So I've been getting educated on property for many years now. But what happened is I bought my first investment property through one of these dodgy dodgy buyer's agent. And that's why I advocate all these kind of questions. Actually, I'll post them in the group. I'll post them in Mum and Dad Renovators, because I think that might help if you allow me.
Awesome. Yeah. Like giving you access.
Yeah, I did.
I think you're in.
I'm in. I saw some awesome renovation. Some of the projects people are taking on are just unreal.
They are amazing. Yeah.
And it's just everyday people, and it's just, they work. And that's what I love about renovation. It doesn't care who you are, what your background is. You put $20,000 in, you put $50,000, you get $2 to $3 back for it.
I love it. I love that, some of these property strategies, there's some really complicated property strategies that not everybody can do, but everyone can improve a room. Just start in a corner. Like everybody can do something with either their own house or investment property. Yeah. It's good fun.
But the true catalyst, to be honest, was I bought a property through a buyer's agent, and it was just the worst experience. So the thing that I realized is it was all my fault. I handed over the keys of my financial future to somebody else. And nobody cares. Write this down, people. No one cares as much about your money as you do. And as a buyer's agent, I definitely care about my client's money. I'm not saying that, but nobody cares about your money as much as you. And that's what I discovered by doing this renovation deal through the buyer's agent. They sent me a shaky video of going through the property. They avoided all of the little traps and things, but I didn't do the research on the area. They presented a property that was $280,000, and renovated properties in that area sold for $320,000.
Right.
So there wasn't enough margin in the deal for me to do it. But I just said, heck, it's a renovation. I'll go ahead and do it. But yeah, it was pretty upsetting. I bought the property and it was just dilapidated. The video covered all the bad stuff, and I had to spend money on the unseen. So $6,000 on electrical. I had to fix all the holes in the roof. I had to send $15,000 on the stairs because both sets of stairs need to be replaced. So I had a terrible experience. Renovation, spent 30 grand. It just didn't, it got back to the price that it was actually worth. So 280, spent 30, worth 280. So I learned that I can do this better, and I have done it better. And I've spent my life getting to this point to be able to do that.
And because you've done some renovations, you can really look at a property and understand what it's likely to cost to fix that property up, and understand that there are the margins there for you to actually present that property to a person to buy. Yeah,
it's fun.
And then you hand it over, they've got to do the reno. I'll do the work.
Well, but set your team up, right? The property manager is the absolute bee's knees. They are. Oh yeah, is that what you teach?
Yeah, they know the local tradies. Another cracking person to go and see for really good references are your local engineers and architects, because they see the builders when they're halfway through their projects and they're signing off on stuff. They get to talk to clients and mums and dads, homeowners, and they can find out whether they're happy with the builders or not. So they're also pretty good.
That's a really good tip. I like that.
Yeah, I got lots of good tips, Joe.
What's your favorite property tip, Belinda?
You've asked me that question because I'm probably not gonna.
There's too many. That's the problem.
Okay, so my favorite property tip, well, when I think about renovating, is just paint everything. Paint is literally
what I wrote down on my piece of paper.
I have to
paint everything.
Paint everything. I say paint everything that doesn't move, and if the dog sits still for long enough, she gets a little bit of a touch up too. Because
paint.
It smells clean. It looks clean. You can change the fashion of something and make it very modern just with the color. It's just, I don't know. People just take it for granted, and paint is just phenomenal.
Yeah. And also, don't feel like you need to rip an entire kitchen out. Just all you need, new door handles. Paint over the top of the existing kitchen and replace it with new door handles. And all of a sudden, it blows your mind. if you can see through the mess and the dirt and the old paint, what new door handles do. Paint, boom, done. And it's worth an extra $30,000, $50,000.
I agree.
Yeah.
And it's nice to hear from somebody else too who's in the property industry who can genuinely say, when you do renovate, you do add value to a property. You just have to buy a good property in the first place.
Yeah, buy well. That is tip one is buy well, and just know your market. So don't go to the latest hotspot. Find your 3 to 5 areas and just know them like the back of your hand, and know the agents really well, and then go for it. The price points that I imagine, like a lot of people go in at that 400, 500, 600, 700,000. As long as it's close enough and has the right demographics and those type of things, just go and research it and then just stick to that. If you're going to buy in that area and renovate in that area, be the expert in that area, be the Wodonga expert, be the, and just get it done.
And here's a plug for you, Joe. And if you're not an expert in that area and you don't have time to research, or it's not something that lights you up, or you want to spend your free time on, particularly when you're working and earning significant income, then 100% go and grab a buyer's agent like Joe to help do all of that stuff for you, who knows and who can negotiate in your behalf and get you a really, really good deal and take all of that angst away. It's way, way better and really advisable than sitting on your hands going, this is too hard and I don't have time for it. There's no reason to do that when you've got some really good buyer's agents, including Joe, around and about. So Joe, you're from Property Principles. So that is .com.au.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So you've got contact details on that website.
Absolutely. Oh, and also join Oz Property Investors, the best property investment group. Belinda, you were on this. You were actually watch the Belinda Smith Oz Property Investor live session that we did. It was amazing. You were dropping gems left, right, and center.
Best interview ever.
But YouTube's on fire now. It's.
I'm going to check the numbers now. You've said that. And see how I've measured up with your other guest speakers.
It's definitely up there in the top. Everyone loves a renovation. But yeah, just check us out. Join the little group. It's 16,000 people now, but that's not little. With Jeff Miles as well. He's a cracking guy. But yeah, I appreciate you taking the time. Like the nice things as well. Thank you very much, Belinda. You're too kind.
You're welcome, Joe. Thank you for joining me today.